What's up, YouTube? So today we're going to talk about the 4-door EK hatch. There's a lot of videos on here that are no good. This video is going to also be no good, so stick through it if you want to find out how you feel about it. So just a little heads up, it's just going to be pictures. I'm going to be talking about the build and the pictures, and when I was doing it I wasn't filming anything, but I did take a lot of pictures, so that's what we have. So let's start from the beginning. When you do a 4-door EK hatch, a lot of people don't know what it is. They think it's an EK hatch that was stretched and a door put in. And so what it is any 4-door EK hatch that you'll see, I guarantee it starts life as a 4-door. It's just a regular old 4-door EK. So I picked up this white one. It was already right-hand drive. I knew the guy that was selling it. Turns out he just wanted to get rid of it. I wasn't even really looking for the car, but I had the idea of doing this for quite a while now. So the first thing you got to do when you're converting a 4-door Civic into a 4-door hatchback is you got to get rid of the rear section. You got to take out the rear window. You got to draw out your lines. You got to be careful. You got to take your measurements, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. As long as what you're doing, you can translate it from one side to the other to make it symmetrical, and then to be able to translate on the hatch where it actually goes. So at this point in the process, we had the 4-door trunk completely cut off, and we were working with just the hatchback rear section. I had found a hatchback at a junkyard. I used a Sawzall to cut it off completely, and the guy charged me like $150 for the whole rear hatch section. So what we had to do is we had to take the hatch off from the actual body piece, and then we're using the body piece or the jamb to fit it inside of the 4-door body. So as you can see how it lays, you see the white section is the 4-door and the black section lays right inside of there. And it looks quick and simple when you're looking at pictures, but we really probably spent 4 to 5 hours cutting, trimming, shaving, placing it in, marking what we had to cut, putting it back to make sure that it was all perfect and all going to be lined up and all going to fit. Once we were happy with how the hatch section was placed in the 4-door body, we drilled out the holes and we clecoed it. The reason why we use clecos is because they're not permanent. You can take them out if you need to adjust it, so that way you can have everything and you can see exactly where it's going to be without making it permanent. So once it was all clecoed on, we took it apart for one final time. That's when I cleaned out all the metal, so that way we can make the fresh welds. I did rosette welds where all the clecos were, and then I just stitch welded the body. The reason why you have to use stitch welds is because if not, if you work too much in one area when you're welding, the metal's gonna warp, and then if you warp the metal, you gotta use Bondo, and the goal is to use as little Bondo as possible. Throughout the project, one major concern for me was to keep the car not only looking like it was from factory, but to make sure it will remain as structurally safe and sound as possible. After the outer skin was all placed together, I reinforced the inner seam with multiple strips of 18-gauge sheet metal. As far as the rear bumper, the way I cut the floor of the trunk was to keep the bumper crash bar using the existing frame rails, as you can see here. If the car was rear-ended, it would be no different if the car was factory or how I have it, since the rear bumper, not the bumper cover, but the bumper itself is in the exact same spot on the exact same rails, just a little closer to the body. So once I was happy with how all the welding was, I decided to spread out the Bondo. Then I used a block to sand it down and make sure it was all perfectly smooth, and then any high spot that there still was, I sprayed with the black primer, and then I worked it down a little more. And so once I'm happy with everything, I just act like it's a regular old car and like I'm doing a regular full color change. I don't even act like it's a 4-door hatch anymore. This is now irrelevant. So here you see I'm just doing all the jambs, all the insides of the door. I wanted to do a full color change and I wanted it to be done right. So I did the engine bay, I did the insides of the doors and everything. So once I was happy with how everything was as far as the jambs go, I started to put the car back together. I put the doors back on, I put the trunk on, I put the taillights in just so that way they would block the fresh paint that I had just done in the light section. A lot of people had asked me why I did that, but that's why. It was to protect the fresh paint that I had just laid in there. And also a quick tip is whenever I'm doing jams and I'm going to be doing the outside of the body after, like what I did here, I put wax all over all the jams, so that way if any overspray does hit it, I can just wipe it off and it'd be good to go. So the whole process from start to finish took us about a month. We spent 6 days on it a week, every single week for 4 weeks straight, and I'm happy with how it came out. So that was my build process of building the 4-door EK hatch. I hope you got some inspiration and some ideas on how to do your own if you plan on doing it. So if you had excellent advice like most of the people in the car community do, you don't have to share it with me. You can just do it on your four-door hatch and let me check it out. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please like this video if you haven't already. You know the deal. YouTube, I'm out.